Hello my fellow gods and goddesses, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today we are doing a judge a book by its cover on Serpent Dove by Shelby Marin. Whew, okay, let's get into this video. First of all, I went all out. I totally match the aesthetic of this cover. I have giant heavy ass serpent earrings. I have a gold brocade bustier and I'm living for it. I really do love the cover of this book, and so that's pretty much the only reason why I wanted to do a judge a book by its cover on it, because it's really the only good thing I have to say about this book, if we're being honest with each other. So just all I can say is prepare for a rant, because your girl is gonna give it to you. If you haven't seen my vlog where I read this book, definitely go check that out if you want first-hand reactions to me reading this. It was definitely a ride editing it. I'm definitely very angry. Do I need to be that angry? It's just a book. But, you know, we get a little passionate in this house. I am a fire sign. I can't help it. I do have notes and everything, so hopefully this review isn't all over the place, but this is me we're talking about, so please don't have too high of expectations for me. First, we're gonna get into the quick synopsis of this book. So Serpent Dove takes place in this country of Belterra, which is basically 16th century France. And this country is run by the Catholic Church, but you know, it's not the Catholic Church because it's not 15th century France. Okay, and the church is kind of in charge of taking care of witches and witchcraft, because that's a thing, and obviously the church don't like witches. Follow our main character Lou, who is a thief, and she is trying to look for this magical ring that is going to help her fight off this mysterious force that we know is chasing her. And so she's trying to get the ring to kind of give her an advantage, if you will. And along the way, she gets caught by the Archbishop and one of his sociers. Listen, I took a semester and a half of French, and you can't tell. So we're just gonna call him a soldier for my English purposes, and not to make a fool of myself already. Look at me. I'm already looking like a fool of myself. Look at how I look right now. So this soldier catches her, and she makes a fool of himself in public. And the Archbishop comes in, and he's all like, "You threatened the honor of my soldier." And so he was like, "Here's the dealio. Instead of trying you for your crimes of being a thief, instead of putting you in jail, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna marry one of my dudes." I'm not kidding. I'm not fucking kidding. You're gonna marry one of my dudes because he's horny as fuck and he needs a wife so he can control his urges. So you are gonna be his wife, and it's gonna be a win-win because you don't have to go to jail and he can get his dick wet. So they get married, and then, you know, drama ensues. Of course, Lou's enemy comes around. Reed doesn't know that actually Lou is a witch. He doesn't know she's a witch, even though they're able to smell witches and they're able to tell who's a witch. But then they're not, because she's a witch, but nobody knows. But her reasoning basically is just that okay, well, if I'm getting hunted by presumably probably witches, what better place to hide out than the Saussure Tower? Or Chazur Tower. I really just don't know how to pronounce that. But you know what? I'm not gonna look up the pronunciation, because if I offend the French, that's fine with me. That's the basic overview of the plot. Supposedly a hate to love, enemies to lovers romance between a witch and a witch hunter, if we're getting like real basic. I rated it 2 out of 5 stars because it's a fucking mess. And let's just get into why it's so much of a mess while I look like a crazy mess. While we're taking a little transition, I kind of have an idea of the look I want to do. I kind of want to go a little wild. I want to do like obviously black smoky eye to look like I got punched in the face. And I also want to do like the gold, like a gold halo eye. And then I kind of want to do like a snake on my brow. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. I don't know if I'm going to be skilled enough to do that, but we're going to try. And that is the key point of this video, is just trying to get through it. Just like I tried to get through this book. And I surprisingly succeeded. My absolute #1 biggest flaw with this book is the writing. In every sense of the word. Not just like the writing style, not just the plot, not just the world building, not just the characterization, like all of it. Just everything that encompasses writing a book, this one didn't meet the mark. And again, before I get into like the nitty gritty of what I mean by that, I'm gonna give like an overview of what this felt like reading. I would be hard pressed to learn that this is not the case. I genuinely think that this was a Nina and Matthias fanfiction written in like 15th century France, and Nina is a witch and Matthias is a witch hunter, which basically is already the case. I firmly believe that that's what this book was first created as, and not even similarities between Matthias, Nina, and like Lou and Reed. It's the way that this book was written. So it feels like the author, again, wrote this as a fan fiction, and it feels like she wrote the like individual chapters in like 20-minute bursts, like just word vomited in like the grocery store aisle, and she never drew the chapters together. Like the chapters as a whole don't even really make sense, let alone in conjunction to other chapters. I really think that's what happened. Maybe not, you know, in 20-minute bursts in the grocery store aisle, which I totally did, by the way, and you cannot tell me you didn't either if you wrote like fan fiction or anything like that. I know y'all bitches did that while your mom was on the grocery store aisle. You were writing it up, getting some inspiration. I don't know. I know that's not just a me thing. And just to build on that idea more, in the chapters, the transition between one scene to another, like whether it be like just a regular like, oh, they're going to the cafe, and then the next scene is like the big bad witch hunters are invading the cafe. That's just a random example, but the transition between them like going to the cafe or like chilling at the cafe to like the invading and like the action scenes, or again any scene, there's no transition and there's no flow. I really hope that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying, but it felt all over the place. Like there was no structure and there was no, again, flow. I'm gonna use flow a lot in this damn video, but it's just the best way I can really describe it. People would just show up in the scenes that I didn't even know were there. Like they just came out of nowhere and all of a sudden they were here and they were ready to go, and I was just like, whoa, 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 where the fuck did you come from, dude? Like where were you? And that also just plays into the fact that this author does not know how to write first person well. The reasoning behind her doing first person dual perspective, which I've talked about this before, it is so hard to do first person dual perspectives because it's so easy for your narrative to get blended together. It's so easy for your characters to get blend together, and it confuses the reader because we're all like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, whose perspective are we at again? And it's not necessarily that I was forgetting whose perspective we were on, because Reed and Lou do have distinct voices, in my opinion, but it was just the fact that the author doesn't know how to like describe scenes like in first person. It just didn't come across to the reader like what was going on in the scene, who was there, what the general like atmosphere of it was. It just wasn't coming through. And so I was confused pretty much the entire time. And another thing is the author literally just does not give you any context. She barely gives you any information. This book was so hard to get into, and if I'm being honest with myself, I never got into it. Like, I never officially was like, all right, let's go, I'm game. I'm ready to fully embrace this world. I get it now. I understand. I'm invested. That never happened for me. And this book is it's over 500 pages. So for that to like not happen, that kind of is a little suspicious. She literally just like throws you into open water without any lifeboat, without any door, nothing. You're like thrown into this world expecting to just learn as you go. And the author is so bad at world building and giving information that you never learn. Like, you never understand what the hell is going on. This kind of doesn't look all that great. Bottom line, it just feels like she didn't outline the book at all, and she just kind of started writing and hoped for the best. Again, because I think it was a fan fiction. And getting into the plot was extremely convenient. Things would happen, and light spoilers for the book. I'm not going to do any like major spoilers or any major like plot spoilers or anything. But for example, even though the witch hunters and like the witches have been at war with each other for literally centuries, the witch hunters didn't know anything about witches, how the society worked. They didn't know how their magic worked, like none of that. I'm like, how have you guys been at war for literally centuries, but you guys don't know anything about what happens and like how it works and all that stuff? It's like, I don't understand. I don't understand the logic there. Something happens at the end of the book where they don't know like the location of this specific place, but then they run into a group of people all of a sudden and they take them to this place, and it's like just things like that happen all the time. And the plot twist, it's just like, oh, of course this person is able to do that. Oh, of course this person is like related to these people. Like, it's just so obvious. If like plot twists are predictable or convenient, I'm usually not someone who criticizes things like that because I really don't care, as long as the execution is done well. The execution was not done well. It just was, again, a mess. It was so all over the place. It just had no flow. It just had no build up. It just felt absolutely ridiculous how things just came about, and I just hated it so much. And this eye look is just not turning out how I want, and I have so much fallout on my face. Don't worry, we're gonna clean her up. I feel like I look like Batman. We're just gonna keep blending, and hope it all works out in the end. So we talked about like the overall writing style, talked about the plot. Now we're gonna talk about the world building, which is non-existent in this book. The world building in this is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that this book is basically set in 15th century France, but it's not, because the author was too lazy to actually research 15th century France and like research French history and look up the machinations and just like the historical background of it. The fact that she didn't, like, she was too lazy to do that and instead just like took out the pieces that she wanted and just renamed it Belterra, even though it still has the Catholic Church and they still speak French, which is just a mess, by the way. She kept like the aesthetics and like the church and the language, but she was too lazy to just make it France and like make it a true historical fiction fantasy. That would have already improved the book so much. But no, she just wanted to be lazy and she wanted to just rename it and be like, okay, good, done, that's it. And it's like, really? That's it? That's all you're gonna give me? I just thought it was so annoying and so confusing. It just misplaced the whole world, and you're just like, wait, so it's like not our world, but it has all of the same things, and it has the same politics, and it has the same misogyny, and it has the same patriarchy, and it has the same language, and it has the same aesthetics, and it has the same food, and it has the same dress, but it's not our world? Really? And then also this goes into my last point. It kind of goes into like the book plot and world building. Nothing happens until the last 200 pages. And in a 500-page book, which I already had to read only 200 pages to really get into like the groove of it. So the first 200 pages of this book is dealing with you trying for dear life to get into it and to just understand bare minimum, to even understand barely anything, to just try to become invested in the story. And then you get 100 pages of terrible ass romance, which don't worry, we're gonna get into. And then finally the last 200 pages is just a chaotic mess of the author trying to give you all the plot twists and the actual like interesting parts of the story, and it's done in such a terrible way because you have literally nothing to build on and nothing to go off of, that you're just like, huh? What? Okay? Where was the build-up? Where was the execution? Where was the foreshadowing? Where was any of that? Where? The number one example that comes to mind is like somebody was looking at another character and they were like, oh my god, blank is blank's mother, in one sentence, and then it was never addressed again. Hi, I did just want to quickly clarify, it was mentioned again, but again, very briefly, and again, it still happened all over the place, but I didn't want lovers of this book to come for me. Back on with the video. Things like that would just happen and would just be thrown at you, and it's just a fucking mess. I really cannot say that word enough. Like, I don't think I've ever read a book more that more encompasses the word mess. Well, going back to like the world building point, world building is low-key used as like a plot twist. Like, you don't hear about this war, like you don't hear about really like the origins of the war between these two groups until like the very end. Like, it's used as a plot twist. I just don't understand why that was used. I just don't get the author's logic in crafting this story, and I don't think she had one. So now we're gonna get into the romance, which I will say, a lot of people that love this book have mentioned that like the romance is really like, the romance is what the book is about. If the romance was well developed and well put together, and even if it was just fun, I probably would have been making a very different video right now. But the romance was not good whatsoever. I'm so surprised that people pitch this as like a great enemies to lovers story, because I see it more as insta-love than enemies to lovers, and not a good insta-love. You guys know that I'm quite a proponent of insta-love. I think it gets really shit on just because of our history with it. But in this case, because it wasn't pitched as insta-love, because it's pitched as enemies to lovers, it's shit. Insta-love. Because, like, that's not what the author was going for. So, it's not what happened. In my opinion, they didn't have any chemistry whatsoever. But even if you think they have chemistry, their relationship has no build and no development whatsoever. I'll outline their romance for you right now in like 2 minutes. So again, light spoilers, but again, I'm not gonna do any like major plot points or anything like that. So Lou is a witch. We know she's a witch. Reed doesn't know she's a witch. She knows Reed is a witch hunter. So she knows that he kills her people, kills her sisters, literally calls them refers to them as subhuman, refers to them as not having any souls. So already, that in and of itself should garner a pretty strong enemies to lovers relationship, right? That's what I thought. But no, he's got pretty blue eyes and gives her a romance book. And she's like, oh my god, he's so pretty. Oh my god. And then they go to a ball and they dance. And then she tells him to come into her bed because it's too cold. And apparently they don't have fucking fireplaces in this world or blankets. So she needs to rely on his body heat for warmth. Okay, sure. And then she takes him to her old home, which simultaneously he insults her for even like having attachments to this place and liking it, because she doesn't have a home anymore. She lives with him and she's his property. But whatever, fine. She takes him to her little attic and she kisses him. Okay, great. And like a couple pages, she's like, oh my god, I love him. Where the hell did that come from? If you love this book, I'm not judging you for loving it. I'm so glad that you loved it, because at least you didn't waste your time, unlike me. Please explain where the hell that came from. Like, that's my biggest gripe. It's just like, where the hell did that L-bomb come from? Where? Because there's no development up till that point. There's no development in their relationship. And even if there was development, why would Lou be complacent in their relationship? Why would she ever develop feelings for him? Period. Let alone if there was somehow development in their relationship. Why would she do that when she knows he literally hates everything that she is? Reed, don't care. He's a dude. And we have already established that his only personality trait is that he's horny. If you can give me more about Reed's character than the fact that he's just a horny misogynist, please feel free to tell me, because that's all I got from his character. I understand why he would be down to like get all down and dirty with her. We've already established that that's the whole reason he married her. But Lou, why? Why is she complacent in this relationship? Why is she so willing to love him? Like, I just don't understand her motivations to falling in love with him. Why does she love him without any sort of interaction whatsoever? Even their banter is just him criticizing her for cussing all the time. It's really annoying because it's so obvious that Lou is supposed to be this like powerful, independent, even though she had to marry a man to protect herself. She's just like this rebellious, like independent woman who doesn't need no man, even though she needs a man to protect her. Okay, but her character, and I usually am so down with those characters, like I automatically love them. It really doesn't take much for me to fall in love with characters like that. But she is just so annoying to me, and just her constant, she just seems like a child. She really just acts like a child, which she is. Like, she's 15 for half of the book, and then she turns 16, which also we could go into, because apparently she's like this sex expert, because, you know, after she realizes she loves him, they like do and they have a grand old time, which is probably the only thing that I actually enjoyed about the book. I love that there was a sex scene in a YA novel, even though I really don't think this should be YA, not because of the sex scene, but just because of the way the characters act. Like, they just seem so much older. Not only do I not like the romance, and I don't think they have chemistry together, I just don't like their characters individually. Like I said, Reed is just a horny misogynist. There's nothing commendable about him whatsoever. Lou is just a not your other girls trope. That's all she is. She thinks she's cool that she curses, and she thinks she's cool because she wears pants. And again, they just didn't have any chemistry together. I don't know why they like each other. I don't know why they not even like each other. I don't know why they love each other. I don't understand. I'm like, where did this come from? Where did it, I don't get it. There's really nothing I liked about this book whatsoever, and I'm just really upset about it because everybody rated this 5 stars. I didn't hear a single person not like it before, like, as I'm going into this. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but this was one of my highly, like, most anticipated releases of the year. I was so excited for this book. I wanted to love it so bad, guys, and I'm just so upset because nobody warned me. Like, people genuinely think this is a great enemies to lovers story, and I just think that you guys want enemies to lovers so badly that you're willing to settle for mediocrity. How is it a good enemies to lovers when they have no development they don't even really hate each other. The only thing that they really hate about each other is, again, just Reed constantly criticizing her for not being a proper housewife and cursing all the time. Because it's not even about that she's a witch and he's a witch hunter, which would have been qualified for a real enemies to lovers. It's about her being not a proper lady. So I'm gonna go off camera to do my brows and like the little snake thing. I'm gonna do my liner, lashes, brows, lips, all of that jazz, and then I'll come in with like my final thoughts. Alright you guys, so here is the final look. It is very crazy, very intense, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think the look ended up coming out okay. Definitely better than my experience with the book in my opinion. Just overall, the writing was just not great. Like, there was no flow. I felt confused the entire time. The characters had little to no characterization. They were very annoying in my opinion. Their romance had no chemistry. It just was, again, insta-love, and there was no basis for it. There was no reasoning for it, and the world was just a mess, and this book was just a mess. But here's the finished look with the book compared, and I am done with this book and I'm done with this review. It's gonna be interesting to edit, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!